You see, most of us are trapped in a strange pattern. Ever since we were children, we were told, don't just sit there, do something. Yet, hardly anyone ever says the opposite. Rarely does anyone murmur, don't just do something, sit there. We grow up believing that our value comes from constant motion, from always planning, always producing, always chasing after something. And so, when we find ourselves idle, simply sitting, breathing, existing, we feel a pang of guilt, as if we've squandered precious time. But here lies the paradox. What if, in your relentless effort to make life happen, you've overlooked the very thing you were searching for? What if the secret, the great irony, is that when you stop trying so hard to reach somewhere, when you stop forcing the river to flow faster, life begins to unfold with a grace and beauty beyond anything you could manufacture? Now, I'm not suggesting that doing nothing means lying flat on your back forever or shirking every responsibility. No, doing nothing is not laziness. It is not apathy. It is the art of stepping back. It is learning to move with the flow of life instead of exhausting yourself, trying to control it all. But why does this feel so frightening? Why does the thought of doing nothing feel like failure? It's because we live in a culture that idolizes busyness. From dawn till dusk, we are intoxicated by activity. People brag about how little they sleep, as if exhaustion were a mark of honor. We measure worth by productivity, by achievements, by the length of our to-do lists. And so, we've created a strange superstition. To pause, to rest, is to fall behind. But ask yourself, fall behind what? Behind whom? Is there really a race? Or have we simply imagined one? Because if you stop and look carefully, you'll notice life isn't racing anywhere. Trees aren't in a hurry to grow. Stars aren't rushing across the sky. The ocean waves don't panic about reaching the shore on time. Only we humans, with our anxious little calendars and ticking clocks, seem to believe life is a competition. The problem isn't that life moves fast. The problem is that we don't know how to be still. We don't trust stillness. We think that if we're not constantly doing, constantly becoming, then nothing worthwhile is happening. But here's the great secret. In silence, in stillness, something extraordinary is already unfolding. Imagine a farmer planting seeds. If he digs them up every day to check on their growth, nothing will happen. The soil demands patience, darkness, time. The farmer must trust a process that is invisible. Doing nothing, in this sense, is not laziness, it is wisdom. The most important things in life, love, growth, healing, cannot be forced. They must be allowed. So, what I call the secret power of doing nothing is really the courage to trust life, to stop pushing, but stop manipulating, stop trying to control everything, and to simply relax and let the universe breathe through you. Yet many of us fear this. We say, if I don't strive, I'll lose everything. If I stop pushing, nothing will happen. You might fear that your dreams will disappear. But that fear stems from the illusion that you are the sole creator of life, that everything depends on your relentless effort. Yet pause for a moment. Who taught your heart to beat? Who instructed your lungs to breathe? Who grew your bones when you were a child? Was that your doing or the effortless work of life itself? This is what I mean by doing nothing. It is not surrendering in defeat. It is surrendering to the intelligence of life that has been carrying you all along, whether you realized it or not. And here's the marvelous part. When you finally allow yourself to do nothing, when you give yourself permission to simply exist without any agenda, something extraordinary happens. Anxiety begins to ease. The mind clears. The heart opens. Suddenly, you discover a freedom that all your striving could never provide. Of course, the ego resists this. The ego thrives on busyness. It proclaims, "Look at me! I am accomplishing. I am important. I am in control." But deep down, the ego is terrified. It fears that if you stop, you'll recognize that life does not require your frantic control to unfold. And perhaps this is the greatest relief of all. You are not the manager of the universe. Now consider this. What if you took even a single day and refused to do anything? Not out of laziness, but as an experiment. You would sit, breathe, and watch the sunlight move across the room. Perhaps you would notice birds or the whisper of the wind. Initially, you might feel restless. You might think, "I'm wasting time." But gradually, you would realize that time itself is not something to waste. Life continues perfectly without your interference. And the more you perceive this, the more you understand that the power of doing nothing is far from passive. It is profoundly creative. Within that emptiness, within that stillness, new insights emerge. Creativity blooms. Love deepens. You become more alive than when you were desperately trying to be alive. In the East, there is a concept called Wu Wei, which means effortless action, action without force. It is the way of nature, the way of water. Water never tries to force its way, yet it wears down mountains. Water does not strive, yet it nourishes all things. Living in the spirit of Wu Wei is to rediscover that your life too can flow with ease, if only you would stop interfering. Here's the catch. Doing nothing is difficult for those who believe their worth is measured by what they do. For many of you, the practice of doing nothing may feel uncomfortable, even frightening, but that very discomfort is the doorway. When you learn to rest in silence, when you trust yourself to be rather than constantly become, you awaken to a deeper kind of life. So, my dear friends, the secret power of doing nothing is not a trick nor a shortcut. It is a profound realization that you were never meant to race, chase, or force. You were meant to be. And in being, you discover that everything you ever sought was already here. One of the deepest reasons we fear stillness is because society has conditioned us to equate value with productivity. From school to work, from early grades to our careers, the message has been relentless. Keep moving, keep proving, keep achieving. When we rest, the mind whispers, "You are falling behind." But behind what? Behind whom? Only the illusion remains. There is no finish line, only the illusion of one. This illusion is carefully maintained by culture. Advertisements convince us we are incomplete, that we must buy, improve, strive, and hustle to become someone. Social media feeds us endless comparisons, showing curated lives of people who always appear busy, always successful. We measure ourselves against this fantasy and conclude, "I must do more." The moment we try to sit still, guilt arises. And that guilt is not natural, it is taught. It echoes a culture addicted to speed. Rarely do we realize that our most private thoughts and emotions are not truly our own. We think in languages and images we didn't invent, given to us by society. This is true of our obsession with busyness. It is not instinctive. It is a borrowed program. To break free, we must dare to disobey the program and reclaim stillness as an act of rebellion. Consider how animals live. A cat may sit by a window for hours, watching nothing, yet completely content. A bird may perch silently on a branch, fully alive. Only humans call this laziness. Why? Because humans carry the burden of self-importance. We imagine ourselves as managers of the universe. Doing nothing, then, feels like negligence. As if the stars would fall unless we keep moving. But this is an illusion. Life does not require our frantic supervision. Doing nothing is not merely rest, it is an act of truth. It shows us that we were never controllers, only participants. The river flows without our pushing. The sun rises without our permission. The heart beats without our command. When we pause, when we surrender, we rediscover that life is trustworthy. This realization is liberating. The greatest freedom lies not in controlling life, but in allowing it to unfold. So why are we so afraid of stillness? Because in stillness, distractions vanish. Sitting quietly without tasks or entertainment leaves us with ourselves, and many are uncomfortable with that. We fear our own thoughts, our own silence. Yet this is precisely why doing nothing is powerful. It compels us to meet the self we avoid. This encounter is not to frighten, but to awaken us. The self we fear is not a monster. It is a misunderstood companion. Beneath judgment and comparison, there is a presence already whole, already complete. By daring to do nothing, we rediscover this presence. Modern life shapes our nervous systems. Endless notifications, constant news, rushing schedules, they keep us in low-grade panic. When panic becomes normal, silence feels strange, even dangerous. Doing nothing is medicine. Practicing stillness recalibrates the nervous system. Breath deepens, heart slows, mind expands instead of contracting. Doing nothing is a remedy for a world addicted to noise. The paradox is this: doing nothing is not about achievement. Approaching it with the mindset of "I will become better by being still" misses the point. The power lies in purposelessness. It is sacred because it is free from utility, an act without agenda. In that freedom, life reveals itself in ways striving never can. Consider when your greatest insights have occurred. Rarely do they come while forcing or straining. More often, they arise while walking aimlessly, gazing at the sky, or simply resting. Creativity does not emerge from pressure. It blossoms in space. This is why many traditions honor stillness, not for function, but as a reminder of who we truly are when all roles and tasks fall away. Look to nature for wisdom. Trees do not rush to grow. They simply stand in the sun. Rivers do not strain. They flow naturally to the sea. Flowers do not force bloom. They open in season. Life demonstrates that being is enough. Yet humans, restless, try to outsmart nature. We attempt to engineer happiness, schedule serenity, and plan enlightenment, forgetting the universe already sets the rhythm. Observe the waves. No wave competes with another. There is only movement, only flow. Humans, however, are taught to compare, to evaluate, to rank endlessly. When we sit still, we feel guilty, unproductive. Perhaps this is the ailment of our age, the inability to exist without justification. Doing nothing restores the forgotten truth. Life does not need your approval to be valuable. Your heart beats without permission. Your lungs breathe without effort. Your body is a miracle of doing without doing. Yet your mind believes it must carry the world. What if you trusted the same intelligence that beats your heart and moves the stars? That is the essence of the secret power of doing nothing. It returns you to trust that life in its vastness does not depend on your constant interference. There is freedom in realizing nothing is wasted. When you do nothing, rest or wander without purpose, the world does not collapse. Often, things fall into place. Problems that seemed impossible dissolve on their own. Decisions that felt daunting become clear. This is not magic, it is alignment. By stepping back, you allow life to breathe through you. You discover that you are not the driver of existence, but its expression. Yet we resist. We cling to the illusion of control, believing that if we stop pushing, everything will collapse. But have you noticed that when you finally stop worrying about a situation, it often resolves itself? That when you stop chasing someone, they sometimes return on their own? This is not coincidence. It is the principle of harmony. When you relax into the moment, you stop creating friction. You allow life to unfold as it was meant to, not as you insist it should. Doing nothing does not mean being irresponsible. It does not mean abandoning your duties or ignoring reality. It means learning when to stop interfering, when to let life breathe. Imagine trying to hold water tightly in your hands. The harder you grip, the more it slips away. But if you cup your palms gently, the water rests there. Control is lost by force and gained by trust. When you allow things to unfold, you discover a deeper order, one that cannot be managed, only experienced. This is why the greatest spiritual teachers, sages, and mystics speak of surrender. Not surrender in defeat, but in recognition. Recognition that life is larger than your will. You cannot command the tides. You cannot force the seasons. You cannot dictate the rhythm of love. When you understand this, doing nothing becomes the highest wisdom. You stop fighting the river and allow it to carry you. In that flow, you are not diminished. You are liberated. Freedom is not in controlling life, but in trusting it. Imagine dancing. If you try to control every movement, you lose the rhythm. But if you allow the music to guide you, the dance flows effortlessly. Life is like that. The more you try to choreograph it, the more you stumble. When you let the universe lead, you discover grace. Doing nothing is not passivity. It is the art of cooperation with existence. There is profound courage in doing nothing. It takes bravery to stop running, to stop distracting yourself, to face the silence of simply being. Most people cannot bear it. They need constant noise, endless motion, because stillness reveals that we are not in control, that life is fragile, that we are temporary. But in facing that silence, you find peace. You realize impermanence is not a curse, it is a blessing. Think of the sky. Clouds drift by, storms come and go, but the sky remains. Your thoughts, worries, ambitions, they are clouds. Doing nothing is returning to the sky itself, vast, open and free. In this spaciousness, no effort is required to be complete. You are already whole. You were never broken. The secret power of doing nothing dissolves the illusion of incompleteness. It shows you that you have always been enough. When you embrace doing nothing, something unexpected happens. Life takes care of itself. The world does not collapse because you stopped meddling. Problems that seemed impossible dissolve on their own. Decisions become clear. Flowers bloom without effort. Hearts beat without command. The sun rises without permission. The power of doing nothing reveals the harmony already present in existence. Relationships, for example, thrive when we stop forcing them. We give love space, and it grows naturally. Doing nothing in love is not neglect, it is trust. Affection cannot be forced. Intimacy cannot be manufactured. Love, like a tree, needs room to grow. Stand back, allow it, and you will see it flourish in ways you never imagined. Creativity works the same. Artists often suffer trying to force production, straining at a canvas or page. The best art emerges when they stop trying. Inspiration arrives when we relax, daydream, and simply do nothing. Chase it, and it flies away. Sit quietly, and it lands on your shoulder. Doing nothing is the secret doorway to true creativity. Happiness works the same way. The harder you try to grasp it, the more it slips away. Happiness, like sleep, cannot be willed. Let go. Stop chasing. And it appears on its own. Doing nothing teaches that joy is not something to achieve. It is something to notice, something already present. The world is addicted to effort, striving, reaching, chasing the next milestone. But the wisdom of doing nothing is revolutionary. You don't need to strive, prove, or achieve. You are allowed to rest, to breathe, to simply exist. In that existence, life's beauty reappears. The bird's song, a child's laughter, the wind in the trees. Perhaps the greatest gift of doing nothing is freedom. When you stop trying to control life, you are no longer enslaved by it. You are free to enjoy it, play with it, dance with it. You realize you don't have to carry the world. It carries itself. You are never broken. You don't need to justify your existence. You are existence itself. Imagine waking tomorrow, not rushing, not forcing, not grasping. Life unfolds anyway, with less stress. Love flows with more ease. Happiness appears with less struggle. Doing nothing does not abandon life. It allows you to be present for it. Life was never meant to be a race, never meant to be conquered. It was meant to be lived, savored, experienced. Doing nothing is the way back to this truth. Step aside, and life reveals itself. Stop running, stop forcing, stop chasing, and you realize you are already where you want to be. The flower does not strive to bloom. The river does not struggle to flow. The stars do not labor to shine. They simply are, and in their being, they are magnificent. You are no different, part of the same universe, the same unfolding. You do not need to justify your existence. Simply being is enough. The secret power of doing nothing is not laziness or apathy. It is wisdom. It is the recognition that life is complete and you are complete. When you embrace doing nothing, you discover that everything you sought was already here. In that discovery, there is peace, freedom, and joy.